All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are going on a pretty incredible journey, but we're not going far. In fact, we're going inside our own bodies to follow a single breath from the moment it enters your nose all the way down into your bloodstream. It's a wild ride. I mean, think about that for a second. 20,000 times every single day. It's so automatic, we never even think about it. But we're going to peel back the layers and look at the stunningly complex, microscopic machinery that makes every single one of those breaths happen. So here's the plan. We're going to trace the exact path that air takes step by step. And what's really cool is we're going to see how the actual structure of our airways, the histology, changes along the way to do different jobs. It's an amazing story of specialization. Now, the first thing you have to know is that our journey is split into two totally distinct parts. First up is the conducting zone. You can think of this as the entire highway system, all the pipes and tubes that get the air ready for its final destination. It's actually called anatomic dead space because, well, no gas exchange happens here. It's all just prep work. And then we hit the respiratory zone. This is the lung tissue itself, the parenchyma. This is where the real magic happens. Okay, so our journey kicks off right here in the nasal cavity. And let me tell you, this is way more than just a simple tunnel. It is a highly sophisticated, high-tech air processing plant. Its whole job is to get that outside air perfectly conditioned for the delicate lung tissue deeper down. And just look at all the processing that's going on. There's this dense web of blood vessels right under the surface warming the air to body temp. Goblet cells are churning out mucus to humidify it so our lungs don't dry out. That same mucus is also sticky, trapping dust and junk, and then millions of tiny little hairs called cilia are constantly sweeping it away. But get this, the mucus is also a defense system. It's loaded with enzymes that kill bacteria and even antibodies. And of course, this is where a specialized patch of tissue lets us smell things. Incredible. All right, our breath is now warmed up, cleaned up, and humidified. It's ready for the next step. It now travels down the main conduit, the trachea, your windpipe. This is the superhighway leading straight to the lungs. The trachea's structure is all about one thing: staying open, no matter what. The inside layer, the mucosa, is still doing some cleaning with mucus and cilia, but the really crucial part is that outer layer. It has these C-shaped rings of hard cartilage. That's the scaffolding that guarantees the tube can't collapse when you breathe. So from this one main highway, things are about to get a lot more complex. We're now entering a massively branching network that looks just like an upside-down tree. This is the bronchial tree, where the airways divide and divide and divide again, getting smaller and smaller as they go deeper into the lungs. And as we travel deeper down this tree, you start to see this incredible pattern. As the tubes get smaller, that rigid cartilage support first breaks up into little plates, and then it vanishes completely. The lining of the tubes gets thinner, and that cleaning crew, the goblet cells and cilia, they start to disappear. So why? Well, we're leaving the highway zone and getting ready for the delicate exchange zone. And notice that smooth muscle increases. That gives the body pinpoint control over where the air goes deep inside the lungs. And here we are. After traveling down all those branching tubes, our breath has finally made it. We've arrived at the final destination, the alveoli. These are the tiny, microscopic, balloon-like air sacs where the whole point of this journey, that life-giving exchange of gases, finally gets to happen. Now this chart is just staggering. Have a look. 97% of the entire surface area inside your lungs is covered by just one type of cell. That is not an accident. That is a masterclass in biological efficiency, and it's all designed for one single purpose. So let's meet the cellular workforce down here. Those type 1 immunocytes, the ones covering 97% of the area, they are stretched incredibly thin, like paper. And that's the whole point, to create the shortest possible distance for oxygen to cross over into the blood. Then you have the type 2 cells. They look totally different, and they have an equally vital but separate job we'll get to in just a second. And finally, you've got the mobile cleanup crew, the alveolar macrophages, or dust cells, that roam around gobbling up any particles that manage to make it all the way down here. Okay, so we've reached the most delicate, and maybe the most brilliant part of the whole system. We've got hundreds of millions of these tiny, wet air sacs. And this actually presents a huge physics problem that the body has to solve with every single breath. No, really, think about it. The inside of these sacs is wet, and because of the surface tension of that fluid, they should just snap shut and stick together every time you breathe out, especially the really small ones. So, what stops your lungs from just collapsing into a solid mass? Well, the physics behind it is called the law of Laplace. And all it really says is that the smaller a wet bubble is, the greater the pressure inside it that's trying to make it collapse. And since our alveoli are absolutely microscopic, that collapsing force is huge. So the body needs a really ingenious trick to fight back against physics. And here it is, the hero of the story. It's a remarkable substance called pulmonary surfactant. And guess who makes it? Yep, those clustered, cuboidal type 2 pneumocytes we just met. That's their superstar role. So what this stuff does is amazing. It's basically a complex fatty substance that works kind of like detergent. It gets in between the water molecules that are lining the alveoli, and it just shatters that surface tension. And that one simple action does everything. It stops the air sacs from collapsing when you exhale, and it makes your lungs more compliant, which is just a fancy way of saying it makes it way, way easier to inflate them with your next breath. It is an absolutely elegant and essential solution. So with that life-saving surfactant in mind, let's come back to this number one last time. 97%. Think about what that really means. A surface area roughly the size of a tennis court is folded up inside your chest, and 97% of it is made of those paper-thin cells designed only for gas exchange. All of it depending on a microscopic chemical layer just to keep from collapsing in on itself. You know, from the cilia in your nose to the surfactant in your alveoli, it is a perfectly integrated system. It's a journey of preparation and transport and finally exchange, all happening on a scale you can't even see. It just makes you wonder, in a system that is so perfectly balanced and yet so incredibly delicate, what does it really take to keep the whole thing running, breath after breath?